Hey, this is Bijal, and welcome to another episode of Be Epic Today. And today surely is going to be epic as we have guests joining us from the other side of the universe. Well, actually, all the way from India. So, first of all, welcome to the show, Dr. Sharmila and Ashley.
Thank you. Hey, hi.
So, for those of you who don't know, well, of course you don't know because you haven't been in my world for a few days. I have been talking to Dr. Sharmila and Ashley about a very exciting program they've been leading for students or for kids and teens in India. And I mean, basically, I've been a kind of fly on the wall, actually be on the wall, watching and observing their program. And I've been really impressed by how they've led this 5-day challenge for kids and teens, and with someone who's got a speaking background and someone who's raised his kids in a speaking background. I was fascinated to see what they're doing, but even more impressed by the activity and the engagement they've created with these kids. But before we get into that, and before we learn more about their public speaking program, let's find out more about this mother-daughter duo and how they've become one of India's leading ParentTeening coaches. So first of all, Dr. Miller, welcome and thank you so much for taking time out to share this. So I'm going to start with you as the mother aspect of this duo. So how did all of this transpire? So obviously you had Ashley. Take us from there.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much. Thank you for having us here. It's indeed a pleasure and honor to be sharing our story. And of course, as always, with Ashley, it makes it very, very interesting. So the way it started off was I'm basically a doctor, and I used to work about 18 hours a day and didn't have time for family. And as a single mom, it was just on the go the whole time, and I was having this guilt inside that I'm not getting to spend too much time with Ashley. So one day we just decided to go and attend a seminar together, and that was basically me just wanting to spend time with Ashley, and it turned out to being one of the best experiences. That's where our learning journey started, and wow, that was in 2017, and fast forward 2020, it's really satisfying to see that we've been able to translate that into learning experiences for children all over India and getting them to start speaking and bringing out the voice. That's very, very gratifying. Yeah, that's where.
So let me ask you. So you've skipped an entire the juicy part of this story. So let's go back in the time machine just a few more years, because your relationship with your daughter kind of started late compared to a lot of mothers, right? If I read your bio correctly, in fact, you went through a very unusual situation where you almost didn't have a relationship with your daughter for a while. Can you tell us how that happened and how that led into your work today in terms of bridging this gap between teens and parents?
Absolutely. I thought I'd have it a little for the later, but okay, let's dive right in. I told you I was working 19 hours a day, and Ashley and I were pretty much poles apart. We couldn't. After I'd come back home, the only thing that we'd have was fights. And Ashley'd sit up late in the night and send me these hate emails. So I leave that part to her. It was sad. And the point is, it was not just our relationship was going down the drain. Her academics was failing as well. And like you know, India is a place where academics is pretty much the focus for parents. And one side relationship was bad, the other side academics was bad. And what was really terrible was that I walk into my daughter's school for the public, parent-teacher meeting, and the teacher tells me your daughter is dyslexic and she can't be part of our prestigious school. And here I am, one, as a doctor, I know that was not true because I've seen her perform really well in school. And the second side, as a mother, I was just completely lost. One, I had to turn my relationship with this girl around, or the other side was I'm going to lose her. So somewhere we had to bring a balance to it, and that's where we started our learning journey. So that was the middle part that I said, that somewhere I knew that just academics alone wasn't enough, and we had to work on our relationship, which means we need to have someone who is showing us that there's another way.
So let me just dive in here. So this is great because a lot of parents who may be in this situation where they are having a gap between themselves and their teens or their kids, and they feel that there's no solution, there's no hope. So let's first put there's a beacon of light in this story. But right now, let's just dive into Ashley's point of view in terms of actually what was going on. So why the hate? Why the text messages? And first of all, how old were you when this was kind of happening? So what was going on in your life?
Okay, so I think I just, like you said, let's time machine back to the time where I was about 4 years old. And that was a time when my mom had to leave India to go to the US to continue her education. And my dad at the time was also studying in another state. So I pretty much, for 3 or 4 years, I was with my grandparents. And, I just used to talk to my mom on the phone. And most kids my age, they wanted the latest toys and they wanted to go to Disneyland. But I just remember the one thing that I would pray to God every single night was for my mom to come tuck me into bed. So that's where we started. I was still super supportive of her. And, she was like my role model. Like she was in another country and she was studying and all of that. And finally, that dream did come true. Our family kind of got reunited back in Delhi in India. And things were going pretty well for a while. And, I was completely in love with her and we had the most amazing relationship. And then she kind of started throwing herself into work. And during that time, in my head, it was as if she was kind of, someone was taking her away from me. So that was what I was kind of perceiving that as. And when that happened, I kind of got defensive. And instead of using, just telling her, hey, I want to spend more time with you, I started reacting out in a way that I knew how to. And plus, there were other things that were going on in my life. Like at that time, there were a lot of family issues that were going on. Plus, I was getting bullied at school. So that started reflecting on my grades. And I was just starting to become like this brat who kind of had it all on the surface. But, beneath that, I was kind of just this angry, sad person.
Wow. So how did this come to, like, Dr. Sharmila, how did you start to notice that there was a breakdown? I mean, obviously there's some, the hate message is one part, but at what point did you decide I have to do something proactive to change this versus, oh, this is just what it is. Just this is what kids go through. At some point you must have recognized that this is not a behavior that was going to be positive or conducive to the family. How did you take the first steps to change this?
Okay, then I need to go back in time and talk to you about my teenage, where my parents also had their challenges. And what I had to do was to just keep the family together. So my teenage was pretty much spent in, taking on the responsibilities of the family and keeping it together. And I was seeing that my academics was going down as well. So somewhere I was seeing that Ashley's life was sort of mirroring, and that was a very, very deep moment inside. And what I was able to recognize was beneath all the hate and everything was actually a child calling out for help. So somewhere as a parent, I mean, I could have stood up there on the pedestal and said, I am this perfect mom and I want you to be a perfect child. I did try all of that and failed terribly, completely. So that didn't happen. The minute I accepted that I am my imperfect self and I wasn't going to expect a perfect Ashley, our relationship started changing. And I distinctly remember this conversation that I had with Ashley, that I just went there, sat down, and we call it our hot conversations, hot and open, honest and open talk, where I just opened up and I told her, hey, this is what I am. I'm not perfect. I had my times when I failed in math and I wasn't really the best student in class, but then things have worked out. And not that I had a great a childhood, but I still, you've seen that, things have changed around. So somewhere we need to work in this together. I mean, I wasn't wanting her to feel sorry for me, or I wasn't going to feel sorry for her, but we need to get on the same page. And we started talking and conversing a lot.
So as easy as this sounds, I know from talking to teenagers and parents that simply having open conversations doesn't often happen. I mean, when we were in India and people got to see how we would talk to our kids and really have just conversations, they were like, kids and parents would both say that, oh, we don't talk to our parents like this. And I think that's kind of a starting point in this story, right? Just the ability to have a conversation that's not about school grades. That's just about other stuff. And almost, my older daughter, Shivani, she would say to people that, me and my dad are best friends until I screw up, right? So that balance between being a friend and a parent, and knowing how to bridge that, bridge both sides of that equation. So you started with really just opening a dialogue and having conversations. So what happened next?
You want to chip in? What happened next?
Well, I think honestly, after that, I kind of started seeing a different version of her. Till then, there was just this kind of block, like this invisible block between us. Because I mean, she's a doctor, she has an MBA. I mean, if you just read her card, I mean, the all the credentials keep going on.
I posted Dr. Sharmila's bio.
Yes.
Mini bio below. So you can see.
Check that out. And then here I am sitting in 6th grade, like I'm like 12 years old, and I'm literally like I can't figure out maths for the life of me. And here I am thinking, well, looks like I'm a complete failure if you compare me to my mom. But then when she sat down and she kind of pretty much listed down every single thing she's failed at in her life. And after that, I was just like, wow, looks like you're human too. So let me start opening up about my life. So, I mean, it wasn't easy and it took a lot of time, but just her telling me that she's going to be there for me was, it was really reassuring. And then we kind of started figuring out that, our relationship is in danger. And if we don't do something about it right now, then we might not have a relationship to save at the end. So, like she said.
Can I pause you for a second? You said something that's really important. And I think as parents, we sometimes don't want to believe these things. And the phrase you just said was, our relationship is in danger. I don't think a parent consciously wants to buy into that as a possibility, right? We don't want to say to ourselves, I think my relationship with my teens are in danger. Even though there's a subconscious part of them that's super worried and concerned, I don't think they ever use the word danger because it's quite an alarming thought, right? But it's also a thought that if you allow yourself to become aware of it, you're more likely to change it versus just turn the other way and just hope that it gets better by itself. Yeah. So when you had this aha moment of, this relationship could be in danger, was that really the words you were thinking, or did it kind of, is that now several years later you can say that? So in that moment, because I really want parents to get that first step in this, in healing parenting is awareness, right? So it's awareness that there's a real problem that exists. And if you don't do something proactive, it doesn't mean it's always going to just automatically get better just because we get older. In fact, it can go in separate directions. So what was that? What are the real thoughts going through your mind at that moment of awareness?
Okay, I actually want to take this up because as a doctor and someone who is in the space of education, dealing with the youngsters my entire life, India is leading South Asian countries in teen suicide rates. And 55% of parents never had the slightest clue that this was a thought that was running inside their child's mind. And somewhere, both of us, we knew that we needed one another to go through the journey. We were alone. The fact was, we could play this match as two opposite team members, and play just like we like just like we like to say, we could play it as India Pakistan war or a cricket match, or we could be on the same team and say, hey, we are going to go and win the World Cup together. Come on, let's do this together. Somewhere when we went from having an imbalanced relationship to a on the same page relationship, start talking. And like you said, I could never be Ashley's friend. I've always told her that I'm a friendly mom. I'm never going to be your friend, because if I get down and start just giving you everything, then I'm failing my duty as a mother. But we could always come up with, if plan A doesn't work, we have till plan Z. Let's figure it out together. That's how it started from my side. And do you want to share about what happened your side of the story?
Yeah, I think I remember this distinct moment where life just hit me, and it was like, well, you change now, or things are never going to be the same, or things are just going to get worse. So like she said, I was in my 6th grade, and she had to come for a parent-teachers meeting, and that's when they hand out our grades, right? So
just so people know, when you say sixth grade in India, what does that translate? How old were you approximately at this point?
I think it was about like 12.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 12. Yeah, 11 or 12. And so it was pre-teens, right? And during that time, my teacher, she looked at me. Clearly I was not the best student, and I was not her favorite. So she said, obviously, that I was dyslexic, socially incapable, that I shouldn't be a part of this prestigious school. And when I was hearing all of this, I honestly, I didn't flinch. I didn't have any problem with it, because I was so used to hearing my teachers say that, you're such a bad student, you need to do better, what's wrong with you, all of these things. But I remember looking over to my mom, and there she was in a 6th grade classroom, surrounded by other 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, teachers, and she started crying there. And, deep down, I still cared about my mother, no matter how much in the exterior I was fighting it. And it broke me seeing her cry. And I was just like, well, you're not as stupid as you're telling or showing people that you are. So, it's time to get your stuff together and do something different.
Wow. And it kind of touches upon a point. It's very easy, both from a parenting perspective and also a teacher's perspective, to label kids and to box kids in based on the social norm, right? The school system, the social norm, that if your child doesn't fit this perfect model, with the high grades and good at sports and this and that, then it's very easy to start looking at them and labeling them, and even worse, saying to them that you're this, you're that, you're not good enough, you'll never be this, and time again, we've seen some of the world's leading people in all fields, across all fields, that they struggled in school, and only because they hadn't found their lane just yet. And I think so many kids never find that lane because of that. And yet, because of your experience, and we'll touch upon that in just a moment, that you were able to find your lane. But from a kind of a parenting perspective here, I think that labeling is so dangerous or deadly to the development of a child. So this was that kind of aha moment for you, Ashley. You were 12, you saw your mum kind of in tears. What did you decide to do next as a 12-year-old?
That's when I started being open to the fact that, obviously things had to change. We started having conversations, and then we kind of put ourselves into learning. Like, my mom, she has this saying that, it's not that you're stupid or that you're dumb or you can't do something. It's just that you haven't figured out how to do it. So I started realizing that, maybe I can do well in school. I just haven't figured out how to do well in school yet. So, it was just a bunch of learning. Do you want to talk about that?
Yep. So the first program that we attended together was MMI, of course, Millionaire Mind Intensive. And then, she gets called on stage to dance. She's the youngest there, 800 participant, 14-year-old. By the time we'd gone through our other bits and all of that, she was on stage. And the first time I actually see her light up on stage, I mean, she was like glowing.
Yeah.
She was having the entire 800 people dancing, and I'm like, wow. Then she comes down, and then at the end of the program, they tell us, you go through this, and I am like, I'm at that point, I'd actually stepped out of my family business. I just started running my own company, so I wasn't having a full-time. There was no steady paycheck coming in, so I wasn't sure, and I had a daughter to take care of, and my mind was like, how am I going to put her through college? The typical Indian mom. I was like,
you can see,
pressure cooker waiting to burst. And this girl comes up to me and says, you know what, I think we should go through this learning together. And I'm like, dude, I can't even pay for this. I mean, you know that. It's like, no, we'll figure it out.
Wow, that's fascinating. The first thing is, my kids have been coming to personal development events, business events, from the moment they could literally, walk. And I always encourage parents that don't create this divide between your learning and their learning, because the kids need to understand. When you're going through these programs, you are exposed to very different ways of thinking, and even forget, parents and teens, even couples too, right? That you got to go through these experiences together, because you can't have one member of the family being exposed to new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things, and the rest of the family isn't. So the fact that you've done this together, is first, congratulations for taking that awareness, and even more so actually for you, the one kind of taking the lead and say, hey, Mom, I think we should do this. So that's awesome to hear.
So it was like, and for me, what was very, very special was to see that glow on Ashley's face. It was addicting. The smile was just like, okay, whatever it takes, let's just do it. And of course, I mean, I really need to thank Success Gyan and Success Resources. They were there in that journey right through. It was like we finally had found our extended family, and we went through the program. She'd miss going to school and come and sit down and attend these programs. And I mean, it was like 12 hours program. This girl would sit there, take notes, go participate full on, and I am inside.
I didn't really.
What am I putting her through? That guilt was so much, but at the same time, it was well worth it. And one of the most precious moments for me was our last program was Train the Trainer, and Ashley did the closing. She was on stage, got everyone up and about, and our mentor Blair Singer was on the stage saying, amazing things. I still have that video as well. And he called out to me and said, so you are the mom, right? I'm like, yes. I'm standing there again, having tears in my eyes. Only that
good tears.
This time it was tears of joy. And he was like, I don't do pictures, but I definitely want a picture with her.
No, that's a great story. So we'll come back to the public speaking in just a second. So you tell me more about the book. So how did the book come about, and what's in the book, and why should parents read that? Parents and teens read the book.
Yep. So the book is pretty much like what we're talking about, just stories that parents and teenagers can relate to, and things that we did after that, just challenges that both of us faced, the kind of solutions that we found for it. I know parents are worried about kids and electronics, especially right now. And in our relationship, we had those struggles as well. But then we just found a fun way to overcome that. And our book is kind of like a compilation of all these stories. So any kid reading it can understand and kind of relate to it and see that, hey, well, I have a problem, but here's a solution that this family has found. So maybe I can implement it into my own life and make a change for the better.
Absolutely. And it actually has the parents' perspective and the teens' perspective. Sometimes it's like when I read Ashley's portions, I was like, oh, is this what she was thinking? I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at it from the parent side. She was looking at the same problem from the teen side. And then once we got the other person's perspective, we were able to come with a solution which actually worked. It was a win-win. I mean,
it's like a side-by-side comparison. Like you take anything like the importance of academics. Now, parents, from her point of view, I remember she used to think of academics like, oh my goodness, like you need to get good grades in school, so you go to a good college and then you get a good job and you have a good life. And that's what she was thinking of. And for me, I mean, I just, for the life of me, couldn't understand why we have to learn how to do calculations that you can just find on your phone. Because, well, I mean, where else am I supposed to memorize all of this when I can just Google it up? So that was my thought of thing, train of thought, and that was hers. And obviously, there was kind of like a huge like collision there, and that's where
Yeah, and we brought in the smile element into it. We call ourselves, I mean, our mission is to create a million smiles journey. So putting that smile on each other's face was very important. And every time we laughed over certain things, that tension and the emotion and the stress just seemed to go away. And we were able to come up with it. It's always about a give and take. You don't have to be right the whole time. And sometimes what I realized is every time I put Ashley in the front as a leader and gave her responsibilities, this girl, she surprised me. I mean, I would have, for the life of me, I would have thought that she'd go up there, speak and mentor so many kids. And the best part was when we started ParentTeening together and started helping other parents and all, other children, her academics turned around because she said, I've done so many hard things. It's just academics. Let's take care of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
That's fantastic. I mean, I could just sit here and listen to these stories all day, and I mean, encourage parents watching this. Get hold of a copy of the book, and we'll put some links in below. But more importantly, I think it's to give parents hope, right? That no matter the situation today, that action in the right direction can create a positive outcome. That there is a way to heal, the relationship, no matter where it's at right now, and you just got to find that sweet spot for both you and your kids, or you and the teens, or teens are watching this, you and the parents, and find a way out of this situation. Now, again, I'm going to say, not every relationship is conducive of healing. There are some that it simply is just not the case. But majority of the time, there's a healing element or a way to get back to healing a relationship when both parties want that as an outcome. So let's go back let's kind of come full circle now. You went through this, you became a speaker, Ashley, and now you're actually inspiring thousands of children to take up speaking as a way to kind of express themselves, to become leaders in their own way. Tell us more about the public speaking program that you've now been running successfully, and thousands of children have actually been through this program.
Yep. I mean, public speaking to me is really close to my heart. When you have the self-confidence and the body language and all of this, and you just start believing in yourself, the kind of person you become is just absolutely amazing. And I remember sometimes like going up on stage when I was like 6 and completely flopping and thinking that, well, public speaking isn't for me. And I just remember being this really shy kid who just didn't speak to people. Like whenever my mom and I went to any family event, I just hide behind her. And that's something that a lot of kids go through. And from there, being up on stage and just being able to spread a message is so powerful. And public speaking helped me kind of, like I said, built confidence in myself, and I was able to speak clearly to her better. So that was kind of like a huge turning point in our relationship as well. So right now we run a 7-day public speaking course for kids, from the age of 4 all the way up to like 20. And all these kids, what they want to do is they want to become better at public speaking. And we take them through the whole thing where first, they come out of their limiting beliefs and they break through their fear. And then they build the self-confidence and, the tips and tricks that go with being a public speaker. And I think for us, the biggest part is that kids just, they deliver their first speech and they're so proud of themselves and their parents are proud of themselves. And it's like there's this one uniting moment where, the child and the parent, they hug and they're so happy. And for us, looking at it from like, an outsider's point of view, it's really, really gratifying.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, today's day, actually, I'm on day 5 of observing this, and the interaction that the kids have, I'm actually blown away by how involved the kids get into this. They really seem to just come alive when they're given these platforms to speak. And just to be clear, this isn't just about speaking on stage, even though that is the frame of this. This is really about giving kids the what I call, a foundation, a platform to be self-expressive, to express their opinions in a positive, light way. And the way you've created the program in terms of, finding a social cause or tying it back into kind of a social cause, social responsibility, it's a wonderful way to get kids to kind of start speaking up about some of the things that they have a passion in, they have an interest in. So I've put the link in for those of you who are interested to learn more about this 7-day challenge. It's actually in the description below. But what's next for you guys? So you guys have obviously you're coaching parents and teens. You're helping kids become better speakers. 13 of your children's students have even written their own books. So you're conquering this space of parenting or kid and parents. But what's next for you guys? Where do you take this, and what's your vision for the future in terms of really healing or bridging this parent-children gap?
I strongly believe that every child has a leader inside. I call it the genius inside. It's just that one moment which can bring that genie outside. And when that genie is outside, it's unstoppable. And people find it in different ways. Some of them are academically strong. Some are, they love speaking, dancing, writing, whatever it is. The minute the child starts feeling like they matter, the parent approves of the child, the whole shift happens. And the best part is, no matter what they do, what they say, the tantrums and everything that they put on the outside, all that they really want to hear is, I'm so proud of you, from the parent. That one word changes the whole thing. And then it becomes very addicting. The child wants to keep winning and winning and winning. So we take them through what we call as the Young Leaders Challenge. And we believe that they are the future of our country, our world. And the more and more they start believing in themselves and start working towards a social cause, they start making the world a better place to live in. So that's my part of the story. I've always been in the social space and believe that we need to create leaders for our world. You want to add in your bit?
Well, I'm going to give the last word to Ashile. To me, she's not that Dr. Miller that you're not a superstar in this, but I'm going to leave it to the cosmic star of the story, Ashile. So what's your final words to teens and parents? If they're going through a challenge right now, what would you say some of the first steps they can take? And what do you advise teens to do in terms of their outlook for the future?
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's a lot. So I think,
right? I think back. I just asked her to write another book.
By the way, we're working on that.
Yeah. So I think it's like they say that the simplest things make the most difference. So I think that first realizing that your relationship is worth saving, that the person that, I mean, it's like, if there's one bond that anyone, like no one can take away from you, it's the bond that you have with your family. Like, I mean, you can get married and then get divorced and all of that, but you can never divorce your mother, you can never divorce your children. So when you start remembering that, if you guys get on the same team, you can literally go and conquer the whole world, then start talking about it and taking action and learning together, like you said, just growing together in this journey, then it's gonna be amazing. And it's definitely, like my mom says, parenting and teenage years are kind of this roller coaster. So it has its ups and downs, but when you have your person to just go on this journey with, it becomes so much more fun. And I think for teenagers, the one thing that I would like to say is, honestly, sometimes, I mean, remember who you want to take advice from. And there are just some people who are just not going to believe in you. And that's okay, as long as you believe in yourself. And yeah.
Wow. There's so much more I want, and we're going to have a part two, because, you've touched upon something else, which is, when we as parents and children take a different approach to life, that there's people who will support you, and there's a lot of people who are kind of waiting for you to kind of fail. But your story is inspiring, and it shows us that it is possible, that these things, that there are programs and pathways that do work. And so people shouldn't just look at the current situation and think there's no hope. There's always hope. And sometimes it takes a little bit of looking to find that hope and find that pathway back to a great relationship. At least for me as a parent, being a parent has been the best thing of my life by far. I've truly enjoyed and enjoy, being a father to my two girls. And I just love to see other children's stories that are uplifting, inspiring, and give hope to so many more people out there, that, this doesn't have to be, there's a challenging time, that through the challenge, you can both grow, both evolve, and from far better, sweeter outcome as well. So first of all, guys, thank you so much for taking the time out on your Friday evening to take part in this. I just love hearing your banter back and forth. You guys are amazing. But as we say on this show, it's time to buzz off. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Ashley. Bye, Dr. Miller.